All right, the Dallas Mavericks offseason video. You can find the written portion of the Mavericks offseason on ESPN.com. It is in one document this year. There are not 30 separate articles, and you can go in there and look at all the teams that have been eliminated from the offseason or entering the offseason, eliminated from the postseason, including the disappointment, which is in Dallas. You can also find Tim McMahon and I are going to do a video on his Howdy Partners hit YouTube, channel or video, kind of going into more of a deep dive with the Mavericks and everything. And I will start with this. It probably rubbed a lot of people the wrong way at the league office. What happened over last week as far as Dallas shutting down their players when they were tied with Oklahoma City. I get it, and I went on national TV, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I would say a lot of these people who are being critical of the Mavericks have never worked in a front office before, have never felt the pressure, and I get it that Dallas had basically backed themselves in a corner by decisions they've made before. But if I was in Dallas, and this is different than jockeying for lottery position, if I am in a desperate stage where that draft pick is one of the few resources that I have, I am probably doing the same thing. I'm not sleeping well at night, but I am doing the same thing. And the league will probably look into this, and they'll get fined, and whatever Mark Cuban pays, whether it be $1 million, it will be well worth it if they keep the 10th pick in the draft, and that has a 3% chance to move into number one. So I understand it from the Mavericks' perspective. I understand it from the league's perspective. The optics look terrible here. But there is a realization that the likelihood is that this team was not getting into the play, and they did not control their own destiny. If they held the tiebreaker with Oklahoma City, we would have been up in arms. They didn't. And they are now sitting home, and we have their offseason to talk about, from going from a conference finals against Golden State last year after beating Phoenix to, as I say, counting ping pong balls. And do I think the window with Luka on this roster is window to win a championship is closed? I do. Can that window open again? It certainly can, like with any team. But when you look at the big picture with this Dallas team, they are limited as far as what they're going to be able to do in this offseason. And we'll go through them right now. First of all, their defense was abysmal. It was abysmal before Kyrie got there. They were 23rd in defensive efficiency, and they were 26th after. They can't protect the paint. The guy they used, one of their few roster resources which was the tax mid-level exception, JaVale McGee, couldn't get off the bench except for some spot time in that Atlanta game, which he actually played well and played sparingly. So it was a blown opportunity when you only have your tax mid-level and you went out and got JaVale McGee. That was a blown opportunity. The second guy you went out and got last year, Christian Wood, who you traded for, has basically went from a sixth man of the year candidate to the witness protection program. He has been non-existent. His role has been non-existent. We were talking about him extension eligible around Christmas time. As far as Dallas extending, he becomes a free agent now. The likelihood is that he is not back. As I said, you do have the 10th pick in the draft. You are allowed to trade that pick. Although you would owe New York a 2024 top 10 protected first. You can trade that pick the night of the draft. You can trade the rights to that pick. You can trade that player in the offseason. So that is a key asset that you will retain. 19% chance that it drops to number 11 and 1.2 that drops to 12. So there is still a chance if that pick does become conveyed, which would not be a good thing for the Mavericks, then you would now have your 2024 first available to move in a trade. You can move 2024 and 2026. Remember, you owe Brooklyn a 2029. You also do not have any second-round picks available to move in a deal. So from your draft asset standpoint, you are limited. Of course, priority one is going to be what you do with Kyrie Irving. What is the future with Kyrie Irving? I agree that he is a max player. He's an all-star. At times, he's an all-NBA player. I am not committing 5 years, $272 million. if that's what the price is, and he can't get that in free agency. I think it's probably 4 for 210, 215. I'm not even giving him 4 for 210. Luka's got 4 years left on his contract. He's got a player option in that 4th year. The likelihood that he either opts out and becomes a free agent or he resigns with the Mavericks here. I am not giving him the same type of contract that Luka. I do not want Kyrie Irving on my roster 4 years from now, and there's no Luka basically on a $60 million contract. I would offer him 3 years. 3 years, whatever that number is going to be, $140 million, somewhere in that range. I would be comfortable giving him 3 years. I am not doing 4. I'm not doing 5. What are the options that all of a sudden the Lakers create cap space, or Kyrie wants to go to Houston? Well, you'll have cap space. Congratulations. But how much cap space would you have? 20 million, 30 million, and that costs you Christian Wood. It costs you, who's basically not a factor, Dwight Powell, who's a free agent. You probably got to waive Reggie Bullock or find a new home. He's got a partially guaranteed contract, and it would cost you Kyrie. That's what you get for $30 million in cap space. Of course, if Kyrie says, I'm not going to resign here like he did in Brooklyn, I'm not comfortable with the offer you made me, work out a sign and trade. Dallas can go ahead and do that, right? Acquiring team like the Mavericks can take back players and not be hard cap. Only the team that Irving would be going to would be hard cap. So it starts with the draft, and we'll know come I guess, what is it, May 16th with the lottery, if the Mavericks are going to have a prized possession or the Knicks will, and that, they'll have future assets to move. But I would say it's a lot easier when there's a name to it and there's a draft to it, as far as capitalizing, as far as who that player is going to be. I think for the best interest of Dallas, for them, is that you are aggressive. You look to move that pick. You look to try to build as much quality NBA players around Luka and Kyrie as possible. Certainly, we've talked about the Irving free agency here. As I said, I'm not committing 4 years. He's played less than 65 games 4 years in a row. Those are I have their resources behind me here. As you can see, it's not good, kids. It's not good at all. They've got tradable contracts with Tim Hardaway Jr., Maxi Kleber, Berton still has a ton left, Can you look to move those guys? Perhaps. We've got young players in Jaden Hardy, Josh Green, who's also extension eligible. The one thing that's crazy when I wrote this is that if Green signed an extension, him and Luka would be the only Mavericks to receive a rookie extension since 2008. Whew, man. Trading a lot of first to win now approach here. And then, as I said, there's cap space. The list of free agent cap space is the most overblown thing. And I know I talk about it a lot, but cap space is basically going to Publix down here and buying lottery tickets and think you're going to hit. Every once in a while you do, but I would say 1 out of 99 you don't. Build the roster through the draft, trade, under the radar free agent signings. You don't build it by thinking you can get a $40 million guy. Good luck with that. We always see, even with Kyrie, sign him and then maybe move him if he still has value down the road here. Team needs. It's all about fixing the interior defense. My guy, Matt Williams, who runs our stats and research group, since February 11th, the Mavericks have ranked 29th in field goal percentage allowed on layups and 28th in shot quality on field goal attempts. Have been blown by on 27.5% of drive defended, 5th highest allowed. It's not good at all. The foundation there is lost. We know that Finney-Smith and Dinwiddie were flip for Kyrie. I've gone on video. I liked the trade at the time. I'm not blaming Kyrie, but everything else around them have not played well or not used the right way. And now you would enter an offseason if Kyrie returns with Kyrie and Luka and the 10th pick, or maybe it turns into a Jeremy Grant situation. Remember Portland last year flipped a future lottery pick. The only thing is that Dallas doesn't have one of those big trade exceptions. That's what your key assets are, as you can see over my board here. Can it be fixed? Yeah, but you better find some under-the-radar free agents. You better find the Najee Marshalls of the world. You better find the Herb Jones, who was in the second round. There are guys out there. Jose Alvarado. I know I'm picking on. I'm talking about New Orleans. You can go out and find those type of guys. And then, as I said, Bertans, Kleber, Hardaway. Those are your tradable contracts outside of certainly Green and Hardy, who I would not do anything with. McGee, you can add to the list here. So it starts with the draft, with their pick. Whether if they're going to have it or not, that certainly dictates their offseason. The future of Kyrie, of course, is going to be important. I am comfortable paying him a max salary. I'm not comfortable paying him 4 years here. But as I said on TV Friday, are you comfortable losing Brunson last year and Irving this year for nothing? And that's why Dallas is backed into that corner. And one more thing regarding Jalen Brunson. I got a lot of play last week, and I'm like, wait a minute, we're on game 80, and all of a sudden we're talking about Jalen Brunson, who signed for New York last offseason. And I know Mark Cuban talked about it, and it was written about, and could they have cleared cap space? I think everybody's missing the big picture, and I wrote about it at length last offseason. If Dallas would have just signed Brunson to the standard second-round contract like every other team does, a 4-year contract with a team option in the 4th year, and you basically decline it and make him a restricted free agent after year 3, we wouldn't be talking about Jalen Brunson in New York. We wouldn't be talking about Jalen Brunson for 4 years, $120 million or $110 million. We would probably be talking about Jalen Brunson on a 4-year, $40 million contract, because remember, after they were eliminated a few years ago, Brunson did not play well in the playoffs. This is not last year in that after they beat Utah and Phoenix and then lost to Golden State. This was the year before. Brunson did not play well, and you could have probably had him on a contract, but Dallas made the mistake, and everyone does. Listen, I'll raise my hand. I've made plenty of mistakes, but they should have signed him to a 4-year deal with a team option for year 3 for year 4, and he would have become a restricted free agent instead of a straight 4-year deal where he was unrestricted. And there's nothing anybody can do about it except move on and figure out how to fix this roster that is now in the lottery that was 2 or 3 games away from the NBA Finals a year ago. The draft, Irving, punt on cap flexibility. Basically, bring Kyrie back and see what the 10th pick and some of your role players can go out and get you, and build it that way here. Have a great day. Talk to everybody soon.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.